My name is Dave, and in this tutorial I want to give you an introduction to variables. So what is a variable? A variable is something that you'll use quite a bit in coding, and as a way to get started I want to read an excerpt from the book Head First C#. This is in chapter 2. The heading says, "Your programs use variables to work with data." When you get down to it, every program is basically a data cruncher. Sometimes the data is in the form of a document or an image in a video game or an instant message, but it's all just data, and that's where variables come in. A variable is what your program uses to store data. So a variable is what your program uses to store data. Think about, say if you're creating a calculator program, you would have to have some kind of way to store the data, the numbers, the data that the user of your program is typing in, right? If you're creating a zombie video game, you got to have some kind of way to store the data. You may have a variable called zombie to keep up with a zombie, right? So you have to have some kind of way to store that data temporarily, right? And when we say store the data, it's actually stored in the computer's memory. In the computer's memory, not the hard drive. And this is a lot of people get the two confused. Hard drive, thumb drive, CDs. This is storage. These are storage devices. This is where things are stored long term. If you save it, turn the computer off, turn the computer back on, it's still going to be there. Well, not so with the memory. Memory is like short-term, temporary storage. It's where when you open up a program, say you open up Microsoft Word or a video game, whatever it is, whatever that program needs to run, the data, all that is stored in the computer's memory, and it's using variables to store the data, right? So the memory it does other things, but it's basically like a temporary storage. You can think of it as resources. So when you run your program, or you run any program, whatever that program needs, the instructions, the data, all of that goes into the computer's memory. So variables are stored or go into the computer's memory, and they hold your data for the program. So what is a variable exactly? Paul likes the analogy of a box. Paul says a variable is like a box, right? So what is a box good for? What can you do with a box? You put stuff in it, right? It's a place to store stuff. So you put stuff into the box, and then later you can get that box, and whatever's in the box you can take it out. So let's say, for example, that I have a box that's labeled "Food for Dave," right? We'll put a label on the box called "Food for Dave," and I want a label on the box so I have some kind of way to know what's in that box, because I may have a lot of boxes, and so I don't want to have to look in each box to figure out what's in the box. So I want to put labels on the boxes. So I may have one box with the label "Food for Dave," right? Food for Dave, and taking all donations. So Food for Dave. So I have this box, right? And let's go ahead and run this little program here. So give you a visual. So let's say I have this box here, right? It's called. I have a label on it. It's "Food for Dave," right? Taking all donations, and whatever goes into this box, right, I can retrieve that at any time, right? I can always retrieve whatever food happens to be, and whenever I get hungry, I can just grab that box and take out whatever's in it and eat it. But what goes into the box may depend on different things. It may depend on how much money I have, what's on sale, what coupons I have, donations, what I'm in the mood for, whatever. So there's different factors that determine what goes into the box. So I may not know that a hamburger is going to go into the box, for example. So So also note that I've declared this box as food only. Let me grab my drawing tools. I've declared this box as food only, right? In other words, you can only put food in this box. I only want food. I don't want someone's dirty socks in this box, right? So all I want is food in the box. You can't put books, supplies, anything. The only thing allowed to go in this box is food. So I've declared that you can only put food in this box, right? So I have this box, I have a label on it, and the label is food for Dave, right? And I've declared that you can only put food in this box. So I've declared this box, right? So let's get rid of these. Okay, so I have my box. This is a variable, and it's labeled food for Dave. It's declared as food only. You can only put food in this box. And let's see the drawing tools one more time. And look at this equal sign. Equal sign. This is called an assignment operator. An assignment operator. And what it does is assigns whatever's on the right gets assigned to whatever's on the left, right? So it just assigns whatever's on the right to whatever's on the left. Don't confuse the equal sign with the math operator. It does not mean equal to like in math, right? We have two equal signs for that, and we'll see that later on. One equal sign is an assignment operator. So I'm assigning what's on the right to what's on the left. So let's go ahead and watch this little animation. And we can see the hamburger that was on the right and got assigned, got dropped into the bucket, right? Or the box, excuse me. The bucket is another good analogy, by the way, bucket and box. So Paul likes the box analogy, so I'll stick with that. So I have this box, it's labeled food for Dave, and so that's the label. That's how I know what kind of data is in that box, right? So, and I've also declared this box as food only. Food only. So you can only put food in that box. You try to put dirty socks in the box, it's gonna bark at you, right? It's against the rules. You can't do that. You can only put food in the box, right? So now that I have food in the box, now I can crunch that data, right? I can crunch that hamburger. So okay, so just to kind of recap, a variable is a way your program stores data. It stores the data in the computer's memory, right? And you can think of a variable as a box. It's a box that holds the data, right? Stores the data. And what goes to the box may depend on different things. The value that's in the box may vary, which is why they call it a variable. It varies, and it may depend on different things. And once you have a variable or a box, you want to put a label on it. You got to have some kind of label on it so you know how to identify. That's your identifier. So say I have, in my example, I have this box, and I have a label or an identifier called food for Dave, and that's my identifier. That's how I can identify this box from other boxes, right? And so I have my identifier, my label or name, and I've also declared that this box only take food. It's food only. You can't put dirty socks in here. You can't put anything other than food. It has to be food. It's the only type of data, right, that can go into this box. So let's watch this animation one more time. And there you go. So with this analogy in mind, in the next tutorial, we're going to look at variables in C# and look at the actual code.